Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More Toma bina ke dayala jagat samsare patita pavana hetu Tabaya bata Vadita pava Mosamapa Tita Prabhu na paibe Mosama Mahaprabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Mahaprabhu Kripabala Kanakara Ami Baradokhi Kripabala Daya Karo Sitapati Advaita Acharya Taba kripa boleh pai Chaitanya Nityananda Sarup Sonatana Rupa Raghuna Bhatta Joga Sri Jivaha Prabholakana Bhattaja Daya Karo Sri Acharya Prabhu Siniba Ramachandra Sangamage Narattamoda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Gosai Hari Hari Bol. Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Vishpad Paramahamsa Pravajik Acharya Sotara Sata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhagana Ki. Prem Sikaho, which means call out in ecstasy the names of Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Sri Advaita Gosai Ki. Parents Day Advaita Chandra Ki. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharne Vishesh. In Mayapur, every day they sing this song when they greet Panchatattva. The essence of it, my dear Lord, Narottam Das Thakur is praying, my dear Lord, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Of course, he's praying to Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me. You're so magnanimous, because you've seen the fallen souls of this age, and you're very much compassionate to them. But you should know also that I am the most fallen. No one is more greatly fallen than me. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar. Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls. But I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore my claim is first. Then he prays to Lord Nityananda. Ha ha, Prabhu Nityananda, Premananda Sukhi. My dear Lord Nityananda, you're always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I've come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, I may also become happy. Then he prays to Advaita Prabhu, Doya, Koro Sita Pati Advaita Gosai. Advaita Prabhu's wife's name was Sita Devi. Therefore, he's sometimes addressed as Sita Pati. Thus Narottam Das Thakur prays, my dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. Then he prays to the Goswamis. Ha ha, Sarup Sanatan, Rupa Raghunath. He prays to Swarup Damodar, and then to the 6 Goswamis, the next disciples of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Bhatta Raghunath Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and Lokanath Goswami. After the 6 Goswamis, the next Acharya was Srinivasa Acharya. And Narottam Das's personal friend was Ramachandra Chakravarti. Therefore he prays, I always desire the company of Ramachandra. He desires a devotee's company. The whole process is that we should always pray for the mercy of the superior acharyas and keep company with pure devotees. Then it will be easier for us to advance in Krishna consciousness and receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. This is the sum and substance of this song sung by Narottam Das Thakur. Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Acharya Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So today we can hear from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we'll also hear from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. The verse on the board, it's a Bengali verse. So the 2 lines are, although separated like Sanskrit, they're chanted as one. Let's see, Jagat Mangala, Advaita, Mangala, Gunadama, Mangala, Charitra Sada, Mangala, Yanra Nama. Okay. Jagat Mangala, Advaita, Mangala, Gunadama. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadam, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanranam. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadam, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanranam. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadam, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanranam. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadam, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanranam. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadam, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanranam. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadam, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanranam. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadam, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanranam. Jagat Mangala, all auspicious for the world. Advaita, bet you know the translation of that one. Advaita Acharya. Mangala Gunadam, the reservoir of all auspicious attributes. Mangala Charitra, all characteristics are auspicious. Sada, always. Mangala, auspicious. Yanranam, whose name. Translation, being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Sri Advaita Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Mahavishnu, is an Acharya or teacher. All his activities and all the other activities of Vishnu are auspicious. So I think you all know he's an incarnation of Mahavishnu. All his activities and all the other activities of Vishnu are auspicious. Anyone who can view the all-auspiciousness in the pastimes of Lord Vishnu also becomes auspicious simultaneously. Therefore, since Lord Vishnu is the fountainhead of auspiciousness, anyone who is attracted by the devotional service of Lord Vishnu can render the greatest society or greatest service to human society. Rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living being from conditioned life become bereft of all devotional service because of their poor fund of knowledge. In the teachings of Advaita Prabhu, there's no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of material energy, however, persons who could not understand that Advaita Prabhu is non-different from Vishnu wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. The attempt of Advaita Prabhu to punish them is also auspicious. Lord Vishnu and his activities can bestow all good fortune directly and indirectly. In other words, being favored by Lord Vishnu and being punished by Lord Vishnu are one and the same because all the activities of Vishnu are absolute. According to some, Mangala was another name of Advaita Prabhu. As the causal incarnation, or Lord Vishnu's incarnation for a particular occasion, he's the supply agent or ingredient in material nature. However, he's never to be considered material. All his activities are spiritual. Anyone who hears about and glorifies him becomes glorified himself. For such activities free one from all kinds of misfortune. One should not invest any material contamination or impersonalism in the Vishnu form. Everyone should try to understand the real identity of Lord Vishnu. For by such knowledge, one can attain the highest stage of perfection. There's also one verse I'd like to read as a preface to our prayers. Vanditam Srimad Advaita Acharyam Adbhuta Chestitam Yasya Prasadat Agyopi Tatsurupam Nirupayet. It's the first verse of chapter 6 of the Adi Lila. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Advaita Acharya, whose activities are all wonderful. By his mercy, even a foolish person can describe his characteristics. In that hope, could we all pray? Om Jnana-timirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shirta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shivashakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhu bhavacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Chaitanya Daya Koro More Tomavina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare. Don't do this. Yes. Hare Krishna. The truth of Advaita Acharya is difficult to understand because sometimes he reveals himself, sometimes he conceals himself. So this is Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 2 of Madhya Kanda, Madhya Lila, text number 6. And this is a purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. And when you hear this purport, you're going to be able to appreciate that he was a Shrutidar. He could hear something or read something once and he'd remember it. So maybe you can appreciate this purport in that regard. He says in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila-6, 26 through 30, 33 through 37, 42 and 43, 113 through 115. Basically, this purport is going to establish the tattva, the truth of Advaita Acharya. We might as well lay the foundation. It is stated, Sri Advaita, who is a reservoir of virtues, is the main limb of Mahavishnu. His full name is Advaita, for he is identical in all respects with the Lord. Why is he named Advaita? Bhakti Glenn? Because he's none different than the Supreme Lord, yes. As he had formerly created all the universes, now he descended to introduce the path of bhakti. He delivered all living beings by offering the gift of Krishna Bhakti. He explained the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in the light of devotional service. Since he has no other occupation than to teach devotional service, his name is Advaita Acharya. He's the spiritual master of all devotees. That includes us. And is the most revered personality in the world. By a combination of these two names, his name is Advaita Acharya. Sri Advaita Acharya is the principal limb of the Supreme Lord. His truths, names, and attributes are all wonderful. He worshipped Krishna with tulsi leaves and watered the Ganges and called for him in a loud voice. Thus Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on earth, accompanied by his personal associates. It's through him, Advaita Acharya, that Lord Chaitanya spread the Sankirtan movement, and through him that he delivered the world. The glory and attributes of Advaita Acharya are unlimited. How can the insignificant living entities fathom them? Sri Advaita Acharya is a principal limb of Lord Chaitanya. Another limb of Lord Chaitanya is Jai Nitai, Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Advaita Acharya considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his master. And he thinks of himself as a servant of Lord Chaitanya. He forgets himself in the joy of that conception and teaches all living entities, you are the servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that regard, I heard Badrinarayan Swami sent out some nectar of Siddhanta's service, memories of Srila Prabhupada. Lochananda Prabhu, he said that he asked Srila Prabhupada this question. Some of the devotees are saying that formerly we were in the Lila of Lord Chaitanya, that we were formerly in the Lila of Lord Chaitanya. Is it true that we all have a relationship with, is it true that we have a relationship with Lord Chaitanya? And Srila Prabhupada said, all living entities have a relationship with Lord Chaitanya. He's Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ke. So Sri Advaita Prabhu teaches, you are servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The glories of Sri Advaita Acharya are boundless, for his sincere vibrations brought about Lord Chaitanya's descent upon this world. He liberated the universe by preaching Sankirtan. Thus the people of the world received the treasure of love of God through the mercy of Sri Advaita Acharya. Who can describe the unlimited glories of Advaita Acharya? I write here as much as I have known from great authorities. That's the end of the verses Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote in Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are the words of Bhaktisiddhanta now. Thakur. The truth and characteristics of Sri Advaita Prabhu are incomprehensible to ordinary, mundane living entities. Although by his own sweet will, he sometimes reveals his own transcendental glories, he sometimes conceals his transcendental glories. Albandharu Yamunacharya has written in his Stotra Ratna, verse 13 as follows, O my Lord, everything within material nature is limited by time, space, and thought. Your characteristics, however, being unequaled and unsurpassed, are always transcendental to such limitations. You sometimes cover such characteristics by your own energy, but nevertheless your unalloyed devotees are always able to see you under all circumstances. Yamunacharya ki. So the mood that I want to convey in attempting to say some tiny little drop or two of the glories of Advaita Acharya is found in chapter 7 of Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila. Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Let's start with text 23. We heard that Advaita Acharya, it is through him that Lord Chaitanya distributed love of Godhead. Here in SanDiego, New Govardhan Dham, we worship the deities, the personalities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. But we know that Lord Chaitanya descended as the 5 truths, the Absolute as a whole, Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivasadi, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. We have their picture at the feet of Gaur Nitai, and it's good to try and reawaken or to develop our awareness of and our relationship with the other 3 members of the Panchatattva. Their mercy is there if we pray for it, if we simply avail ourselves to hear, to begin with, their glories, to chant and remember them. So in text number 23 it says, in distributing love of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchatattva distributed love of Godhead. And we've heard it many a time if you listen to the disciples of Srila Prabhupada describing the mood of this movement. Without question, that was the mood all-pervading in the movement for the first number of years. You tried to bring everybody to the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said to, asking Giriraj Swami, how do you think this movement will continue? Do you think it will go on? I guess I'll muffle the remembrance of the Leela, but if we chant our rounds, if we follow the principles, and then Prabhupada said, no. Good management and intelligence. And this intelligence is the spiritual intelligence of becoming the surrendered servant of the spiritual master's instructions. The mood and the instructions of Srila Prabhupada are the same as the Panchatattva, as Advaita Acharya. All our previous acharyas share Krishna's devotional service, share the holy names, share the glorification of the Lord to everyone. That's why the external reason why Lord Chaitanya came. That's certainly why Advaita Prabhu called upon him. If you read in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it gives an excellent description of the godlessness of Sri Navadvip. He even makes mention of that in his preface or introduction to Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Said, Vrindavan Das Thakur gives a very good understanding. In more than one place he goes to some length describing. There were millions of people in Navadvip at the time. Millions. It was a great center of learning. If you wanted to get the credentials so you could go out and have the fame and get the students and get the wealth, and you went to Navadvip. It was the place to be. Teachers and schools everywhere. But nobody talked about bhakti. They'd even preach from Bhagavatam. No mention of bhakti. Devananda Pandit would be a very good example that you'll hear of in Chaitanya Bhagavat. He was an Aishtika brahmachari. He had so many students. He taught Bhagavatam, but there was no bhakti involved. How you get away with that? Only by the mercy of Maya Devi. Totally bewildered. Your desires will be fulfilled, but you're not even getting a drop of mercy of Bhakti Devi and the Lord. So this pained greatly the Vaishnavas. It wasn't like there was a lot of Vaishnavas. When you're talking about millions of people, it's probably kind of like our ratio. Got a few devotees here. We have a few hundred, thousand, who knows, congregational members in our city. But how many people in SanDiego? 5 million. About a million. Not very many devotees in comparison to the non-devotees. And boy, did they use their money for following elaborate ceremonies. They did kirtan. They sang songs. They danced. But it was in glorification of demigods. They were so puffed up, they would use their money in trying to impress their neighbors. Marriages are a big thing. You spend a lot of money. It's the day of the bride and the groom. Well, sometimes they would marry a cat or a dog just to show what opulence I have. Can you imagine? You invite the community, come and see the gorgeous marriage of our 2 dogs. No bhakti. And Lord Chaitanya, when he descends, Krishna Varna Tusha Krishnam Sango Panga Pashadam. The Angas, the Upangas, the Astras, and the Parishads, they all descend with or before and after Lord Chaitanya. They accompany him. Advaita Acharya, Jagannath Mishra, Sachi Devi, Madhavinda Puri, Ishwar Puri, Parmananda Puri, Srivas Thakur, Murari Gupta. A good number of devotees, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, came, elder devotees. They're there to help set the scene. They play an important role. You have to have your superiors. They're there in the spiritual world. They're there in the manifest Leela of those spiritual activities in this world. In Navadvip Dham, which is actually the Dham, non-different from the spiritual abode, that compartment, that lotus petal in Goloka Vrindavan, where Lord Chaitanya and his devotees engage in Sankirtan eternally. They came. And they were severely pained. Jayapataka Swami one time told Srila Prabhupada, when I see these people, I almost feel like crying, seeing how they're suffering, not engaging in devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada said, why only sometimes? Those who are surrendered, loving devotees of the Lord, they feel the highest pleasure. They have no difficulty. Just like, what was it? Another one I heard just recently, Prabhupada Memories. The devotee said a reporter asked Srila Prabhupada in relationship to his position as the guru of this big society, ISKCON. What does it feel like to be in such a position? And Srila Prabhupada took it to mean in Krishna consciousness. That's the way I understand. He immediately said, I have no fear. The devotees are so satisfied in the loving, protective service of Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya. And because they love the Lord, they know what the Lord desires for all living entities in this material world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song prays that he will be only satisfied when all living entities in the universe are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When Narada Muni would come sometimes to Srila Prabhupada's presence with his disciples, he would laugh. He was so thrilled to see the Malechas and the Yavanas taking to devotional service. Well, we haven't come to that point yet in the Leela of Lord Chaitanya. He hasn't appeared yet. Advaita Acharya, 3 times that I read in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, different times, he consoled these devotees. They would fast. They would pray. They would chant so sincerely, Lord, please help these foolish conditioned souls. And of course, the conditioned souls, their neighbors would make fun of them. Nothing unusual about that. Those of us who joined earlier, it used to be really heavy. People's sometimes disdain, their ridicule of the devotees, etc. What did Srila Prabhupada say? In the beginning they'll hate you. Then they'll laugh at you, then they'll chant with you. Well, at this point they didn't like the devotees. They were just simply disturbing their peace, their mood of engaging in Maya. So Advaita Acharya, they would go to him. He was the prominent Brahmana in Navadvip. Even the Smarta Brahmas looked up to him. He was such a scholar. He commanded respect. You can just imagine. His devotional service, his knowledge, spiritual knowledge, you could take 1,000 Brahaspatis, guru of the devas, the demigods, and it didn't even compare to Advaita Acharya. How can we be surprised at that? Or his detachment. So they would go to Advaita Acharya and they would look for some enlightenment, some consoling. And he said, I swear to you that I will cause the Lord Krishna himself to descend to deliver these fallen conditioned souls. They thought it was so fallen, the atmosphere, the age, the people, that only Krishna could deliver them. My name is not Advaita Simha, he says in one verse, lion-like guru, if I cannot bring down the Lord. Don't worry, soon I will cause his descent. And if he will not come, then I will manifest 4 arms, and with my Sudarshan Chakra I'll kill them all. Yoga Maya is something incredibly amazing. I mean, if Dravida or me were to say something like that, you'd look at us like Like, what's his name? Kolavechar Sridhar, when Lord Chaitanya would say, "You're worshiping me. Why don't you just give me the fruit now? Give me the leaves, give me the bananas, etc. I'm your Lord." And he would hear Nimai Pandit say such things. Vishnu, what a proud, uppity young Brahmin boy. How can you say such things? But the devotees, the associates of Advaita Acharya, they didn't blink. At that moment, they must have appreciated. But then the Yoga Maya covers again. They weren't worshiping Advaita Acharya as God. He was their guru. He was their superior. But 3 different times in the Chaitanya Bhagavat it says like that. And we know that's how we glorify Him. He's the cause of the descent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now in the beginning, he took to worshipping his Shila, it's a Nishinga Shila, with flowers. Pushpanjali. And then he lived in Shantipur and he would put those flowers in the Ganges. Appropriate thing to do with Mahaprashadam in India. And those flowers floated downstream from Shantipur to Mayapur. And one of the flowers touched the body of Mother Sachi when she was bathing. She had had 8 children. I went like this yesterday, but it was 8 children previous to the birth of Vishwarup. 8 daughters. They had all passed away very early. But the touch of the Mahaprashadam offered by Advaita Acharya to Krishna blessed her, and then she had an expansion of Lord Nityananda Sankarshan as her son, Vishwarup. So then, Advaita Acharya remembered the verse. Do you know the Sanskrit by any chance? The verse. That if one, it's from the Gautamiya Tantra, quoted in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, that if one will offer me, Krishna is speaking, tulsi leaves, along with Ganga jal, Ganga water, then that act of devotion will capture me. Being unable to repay the service, the act of that devotion, I give myself to the devotee. Forgive me for not having it right at my fingertips. So he remembered that verse and he began to worship his Shila, the Lord, in that way. And of course, the fasting was going on, crying out, loudly crying, Hunkar. Isn't that Bengali for loudly calling out? Hunkar? That's what he did. It wasn't kind of like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He was loudly calling and chanting the names of Krishna. And we know the Lord told Advaita, you woke me up. I came because of your cries, because of your pleading with me to come. So we are forever grateful to Advaita Acharya for his service, for his mercy. It's his appearance day, so we can give just a couple of childhood pastimes. We hear about the pastimes, childhood pastimes of Nityananda and the Chaitanya Bhagavat. We hear about the childhood pastimes in both the Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita. But we don't hear much about Advaita Acharya. There's one book, what's his name, Ramapati? Subhag Swami translated it. What was the name of that book? Advaita Prakash. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was not the biggest fan of it because evidently he said, and we understand, that there was some impersonalism in it. So it's not given great prominence. But Satyaraj Prabhu, in his book, Panchatattva, he took Sri Panchatattva, the 5 features of God. He took out a couple, 3 childhood pastimes. And we can easily understand how these would be bona fide. But also in the Bhakti Ratnakara, his mother's name was Nabha Devi, his father's name was Kuvera Pandit. Kuvera Pandit was an incarnation of Kuvera, treasure of the demigods. And they had 6 children. 4 of them became sannyasis, 2 of them married. But they were feeling saddened that 4 of their sons had left them, never to return again. And so they lived in Sri Hatta, which I believe is in Bangladesh. And they went to the paternal home in Shantipur. And they did austerities. They did devotional service there. And she had a dream where she saw Sadashiva. Now when we say, Chaitanya Charitamrita emphasizes Advaita Acharya as the incarnation of Mahavishnu, which he is. We heard Srila Prabhupada confirm it in the purport. He's also understood to be the incarnation of Sadashiva. He's combined as 2. If you'll go to Mayapur in Godruma Dweep, you can have a darshan of Harahari. It is a deity of the Lord where half is dark and Hari, Vishnu, with 2 arms on this side holding the conch and a lotus flower. On the other side, he's white. He's Shiva, Sadashiva. And he has, I think it's the little drum, what do you call that thing? Tunguru. And in the upper hand he has the trident. I didn't want to say pitchfork. He had the trident. Thank you. Parvati's on Shiva's side, Lakshmi Devi's on Krishna's side. This is the understanding of Advaita Acharya. These things are beyond the conditioned souls, certainly, or for a neophyte devotee like me, but we can have the darshan and pray for Advaita Acharya's mercy. And in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it emphasizes more the non-difference from Shiva. Lord Chaitanya glorified him as such, etc., mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So he is both. And his mother, Naba Devi, had a dream that Sadashiva saw the deplorable condition of the conditioned souls in this Kali Yuga, and feeling compassionate for them, he went to plead to Mahavishnu, please deliver them. He went to the ocean, the Kaza ocean, and he meditated. 700 years. He was determined. After 700 years, Mahavishnu said, what's going on? Why are you taking so much trouble to get my attention? And he explained why. And Mahavishnu said, Sadashiva, why? You and I are one. Why? Yes, let us both go down and let's deliver the conditioned souls. And he hugged them and manifest the form of Advaita Acharya. And in this way, the Naba dreamed that he appeared in her womb and as her child. Interesting enough, Yamaraj, he heard what was going down. He thought, oh my God, they're going to take my service away. I mean, when the Lord himself comes to deliver the conditioned souls, what is the obstacle to the fulfillment of his desires? I'll have no more service. So he approached Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu said, don't worry. Those who are envious of the Lord and his devotees, those who are atheists, those who are proud of their wealth, their birth, their learning, their looks, whatever, that is what sets us up to become offenders. He said, those people, they'll not surrender. They'll not be overwhelmed in the ocean of love of God that I'm going to let loose upon the world, rain down upon the world. So you'll still have service. It's okay. Thank you, my Lord. So anyway, she told her husband, and he knew, oh my goodness, this is so auspicious. And they went back to their home, Sri Hatta. They had the child. He was the pundit to the king there, Divya Singh. And he was a Durga worshiper. And he had a son, and Advaita and him were friends. And one time there was they were in a cave playing, and this prince thought it was cool and funny to offend the devotees, make fun of the devotees. Advaita, who was also called Kamala Laksha, lotus-eyed one. Kamalaksha, lotus-eyed one. When he heard this prince, the king's son, blasting the devotees, he became angry as Rudra. Advaita was so angry at this prince, and the boy fell unconscious out of fear and shock. Another time, he took him. The prince and he went to a Durga temple because Advaita would glorify Krishna, Vishnu. And the king, he set the mood in the kingdom, and he was worshiping Durga. So they went to a Durga temple. When they entered, the young boy said, "Show me your Durga. Where is she?" So the prince came, and he bowed down before her deity form. Advaita Acharya didn't. And the prince began to chastise him. He said, "I'm not going to bow down before her. My master is Krishna, Vishnu. I bow down only to him." And once again, he became very angry with this prince. And he fainted in shock and fear again. Well, Advaita, a young boy at this point, he ran away. The king and the father came. Boys, friends of Kamalaksha, they went out, they found him. I don't know if you ever ran away from home. I did one time. They came and finally found me a few hours later. But they brought him back, and his father began to say, "You know, why you act this way? You know, Ram, he worshipped Shiva, Rameshwara down in Setabandhu." And he quoted some other pastime of the Lord showing respect to the Devas. And his son Advaita said, "No, you are misunderstanding. If water is given to the root of the tree, then automatically the branches, the leaves, the flowers, the fruits, they're all nourished." And he turned to the king and he said, "You're worshiping Durga. Your kingdom will not flourish. You should worship Krishna." "Hey, my son's lying here lifeless and you're trying to preach to me?" So Advaita, I don't know where he got it, but he got Charnamrita from the Lord, from Krishna, Vishnu, and he sprinkled it on the son, and the son came back to life, regained his consciousness. Then the words of Advaita sunk in, and the king took his advice, and he became a Vaishnava. This is when he was a little boy. Not surprising, being the Lord. But his mood was to share bhakti from the get-go. He was 52 years old when Lord Chaitanya appeared. And the wonderful thing about old age in the spiritual world, there's no creaks and aches and pains. They may or may not have beards. It's described. Nanda Maharaj has his white beard, and sometimes it's said by the acharyas he doesn't look old, but everyone understands that he's old, and he's 52 years old. He made the claim, "I'll bring the Lord down," and he did bring the descent of the Lord. Vishwarup first, and then Lord Chaitanya. And the devotees, the Vaishnavas, would gather at his home. Vishwarup by this time was a young teenager, and he would also assemble with the Vaishnavas, and they would hear the glorifications of Krishna. And little child Nimai, 3 or 4 years old, he would be sent by Mother Sachi, "Go to get your brother, it's time for lunch." and he would go to the assembly of the Vaishnavas, and they're engaged in Bhagavatam, and he comes in the middle, and he tugs on his brother's dhoti. Brother, mother has called you. It's time to come for lunch. And everybody just stops the hearing, the chanting. They look at this child. This child is so beautiful, inconceivably beautiful. And their hearts were automatically attracted to him. Their love for him is manifesting. What an incredible child. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time would not reveal himself. But Advaita Acharya blessed him. May this child get pure bhakti for the Lord. And so Vishwarup would go and he would have lunch and then he would come back. He knew that his brother, younger brother, was the Lord. It wasn't hidden from him. And Nimai, throughout his youth, his childhood, his youth, he was a naughty boy. He was quite the prankster, quite the mischievous boy. But around his brother Vishwarup, he was always respectful and sober. So he grows up. He goes, he gets initiation from Ishwar Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, and he comes back and he reveals his love for Krishna at the home of Shuklambar Brahmachari. And after the word gets out, a half dozen devotees were there with the Lord as he revealed, I saw Krishna and he disappeared. My life is so unfortunate. I'm so fallen. I'm so miserable. Where's my Lord? Where's Krishna? Krishna, Krishna. And his love of God and the symptoms, it overwhelmed the devotees that he was revealing his hearts to. They went and told Advaita Acharya, Nimai's become a devotee. And he was so happy to hear that. He said, yes, previously I had blessed him. It's only appropriate someone so beautiful, so learned, who has appeared in such a glorious family as Jagannath Mishra and Mother Sachi. This is good. By his blessings, bhakti will spread. The world will become auspicious. And that's how the devotees always dealt with Nimai Pandit in his arrogant scholarship phase, his teaching phase. They said, you're so learned, if you would just become a devotee. What's the value of your teaching or learning if you're not worshiping Krishna? So anyway, they were happy with that. And then, fast forward a little bit, those same neighbors, those same demoniac, envious people, they were putting the rumor out. This loud chanting that Srivas and his brothers and the devotees engage in at his home, I think it's going to get the attention of the mean, the evil king. The king, the Nawab Shah, he was an incarnation of Jarasandha. We know what kind of character he was. So anyway, this Muslim king, it's going to come to his attention, and he's going to bring ruin. These brothers will bring ruin upon our village, our town, our city. They said we should break up the home, destroy it, throw it in the Ganga. We should turn them in. Wasn't us, it's him. It's his family, his friends. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya thought it appropriate. When Srivas was afraid, since he believed the rumor, he's a simple devotee, simple-hearted devotee, he thought there could be credence to it. So immediately he went to worship the Lord. And Lord Chaitanya came and revealed that he was God. And then, shortly thereafter, he had the Mahaprakash Lila where he showed all the devotees he was God. He sat down on the altar of Srivas Thakur, put the Shilas to the side, and he sat down there, worship me. He had all the devotees worship him. Say your prayers. Ask for benedictions. And he revealed to each and every one of them the form of the Lord that they desired to see. He revealed to them their eternal identities prior to Chaitanya Lila and Krishna Lila, Ram Lila, etc. And he told Ramai, the youngest brother of Srivas, go to Advaita's house in Shantipur. Tell him that he who he is called for has appeared. He has descended. Tell him to come. He and his family bring articles of worship. I want to accept his worship. Tell him Nityananda has arrived. And Ramai, they were all in ecstasy. He didn't know where he was going, but by the will of the Lord he arrived there. And Advaita Acharya, he was engaged in his puja. And he saw Ramai, and being the omniscient Lord, he knew what the purpose was. And he immediately yelled out. You hear this often in Chaitanya Lila. He yelled out in ecstasy, roared. My Lord has come, and he's bringing me to his lotus feet. And so he said, oh, have you come to take me to the Lord? Does he want me to come and worship him? Is he going to bless me? And Ramai was shocked. Advaita Acharya, you know everything. Also, Nityananda Prabhu has come. Oh, when Advaita heard that, roared again. He was so happy. Nitai, Advaita, they're so close. They're the same Lord, but manifest in different forms with different ras, but both of them are fully absorbed in service to Lord Chaitanya. Fully absorbed. In fact, the famous verse from the CC, Advaita Acharya exclaims, I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya. I'm the servant of the servants of Lord Chaitanya. Even though he's God, he's relishing the nectar of service to Krishna, to Gauranga. There is no higher taste. There is no greater happiness. So then he went into ecstasy, he danced, he cried, he exhibited the symptoms, and then he kind of composed himself and he said, Ramai, why have you come here? And Ramai then told him what Advaita had already told him. He said, oh, this is very good. Sita, please prepare the articles of worship. And then he said, tell him I said I'm not coming. I'm going to go hide in Nityananda Acharya's house. Evidently, this is the place to hide. Chaitanya hid there. Nityananda appeared there. Yeah, it's the hideout. It's the go-to hideout. And Advaita Acharya goes, I'm going to go to Nityananda Acharya's. Don't tell him I've come. If he is indeed my Lord, he will find me out, he will bring me to him, and he will display his opulences to me. Don't tell him. Tell him I said I'm not coming. So Ramai, as you wish, went back, and as soon as he came into the courtyard into the temple room of Srivas Pandits, Lord Chaitanya said, why is my nada always trying to test me? Nada, by the way, is the affectionate term he had for Advaita Acharya. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says it very well may be a derivative of Nara, some dialect where they say nada instead of Nara, which is referring to the verse you quoted yesterday, the verses from 14th chapter of the 10th canto. Nara, people, Ayana, the shelter of, the source of all qualities of the people, Nara. Ayana, the ocean on which Nara lays down. Are you not that Narayan? So this Nara, what, he doubts me? Or is he simply wanting to show my opulence, disclose who I am to others by his act? He said, he's hiding at Nanda Acharya's. Go and tell him I've said, come on over, bring your articles of worship. I want to accept your worship. And when Ramai told Advaita and Sita Devi and Achyutananda, their small child, that these were the words, the desire of Lord Chaitanya, immediately, in ecstasy, crying, they went and they paid their obeisances as soon as they saw the Lord. And it describes the description of the Lord. He was golden in color, but they saw him playing a flute. They saw him with shark earrings, Vijayanti garland, Kostaba gems, Shivatsa hair, his feet, Nirbhaya pada, the source of all fearlessness. His toenails were shining more brilliantly than gems. And all the ornaments, his golden arms like pillars, and oh, what a beautiful. And he said prayers to the Lord. He glorified the Lord. He was in ecstasy. And he worshiped the Lord. And if you allow me, I'll read the prayers. It's very auspicious. I think it's let's see if I can get it. Chaitanya Bhagavat. See if I've got it. If I do, my desire will be fulfilled. So he came, he worshipped the Lord. And when he saw the Lord's form, I forgot to mention that he saw Lord Brahma worshiping him. He saw Lord Shiva. He saw the 300 million, 330 million demigods worshiping. All the sages are there. Narada Muni. He saw all the opulences of God. You can just imagine. Overwhelmed, so fulfilling. Saw Mother Ganga worshiping him. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, he said to Advaita, I've descended to fulfill your vow, for you profusely worship me. This is chapter 6. I'm on text number 94. I was asleep in the ocean of milk, but your loud cries broke my sleep. You could not tolerate the sufferings of the living entities, so you've brought me to deliver them. All my associates that you saw surrounding me have already taken birth because of you. By your mercy, Vaishnavas that even personalities like Brahma desire to see will now be seen by everyone. Everyone would be given the love of God that even Lord Brahma and Shiva hanker after. Hearing the words of the Lord, Advaita and Sita raised their arms and cried, Today my life has become successful. Today all my desires have been fulfilled. Today my life and austerities have become successful, for I have seen your lotus feet. The 4 Vedas only describe your glories, but cannot directly see you, yet you've appeared because of me. I have no power outside of your causeless mercy. Who can deliver the living entities other than you? This way he floated in an ecstasy of love of God and worshiped the Lord. Then the Lord asked him to, here's the prayers after the worship. The mantra that he chanted when worshiping Lord Chaitanya. He did it also one time when Gauranga and Gadadhar went to visit him in Shantipur. He hadn't revealed his godhood yet. But Advaita, engaged in the service, saw Gaur Gadadhar come, and he once again roared in ecstasy because Yogamaya, the curtain was parted. Here's my Lord. He's here. And Lord Chaitanya is seeing the bhakti of his superior, godbrother to his guru. He who had called, had brought him down. When he saw him, he passed out. He fainted in ecstasy. And Advaita Acharya said, Oh, you thief, you've hidden for such a long time. Well, you can't hide from me. Now I'm going to steal from you. And he took the opportunity to worship the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Nimai Pandit. used the sandalwood pulp, the tulsi, the incense, the ghee lamp, and he said prayers. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagaditaya Krishnaya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. We all know the meaning. It's a prayer by Prahlad Maharaj, where we offer our respects to the Lord of the universe, the Lord of all Brahmins. He's the well-wisher of the cows and the Brahmins. He's always benedicting the entire world. Offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Govinda. So he worshipped him in this way, and Gadadhar was just flabbergasted. Gosai, why do you do this? How can you act this way with this young lad? He said, in time you will see who this young boy is. And the same verse was quoted when he began to glorify the Lord after worshiping him as he sat on the altar of Srivas Pandit. He said, all glories to Vishwambar, the life and soul of all living entities. All glories to Gaurachandra, the ocean of mercy. All glories to he who makes the words of his devotees come true. All glories to Mahaprabhu, the supreme fountainhead of all incarnations. All glories to the Lord, who is enchanted by the beauty of Goddess Lakshmi, the daughter of the ocean. All glories to he who is decorated with the mark of Srivatsa and the Kaustuba gem. All glories to he who inaugurated the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. All glories to he who enjoyed the pastime of accepting his own devotion. All glories to Mahaprabhu who lies on the bed of Ananta. All glories to he who is the shelter of all living entities. You are Vishnu, you are Krishna, you are Narayan, you are Matsya, you are Kurma, you are eternal. O Lord, you are Varaha and you are Vamana. You protect the Vedas in every millennium. You are the destroyer of the demoniac dynasties. You are the life of Sita, the bestower of boons to Guha and the deliverer of Ahalya. As Nrsingadev, you incarnated to deliver Prahlad and kill Hiranyakashipu. You're the crest jewel of all demigods and the best of the Brahmanas. You accept various foodstuffs at Nilachala, Jagannath Puri. The four Vedas wander from place to place in search of you. You've hidden from them by coming here. You are most expert in concealing yourself, but your devotees recognize and expose you. You've incarnated to inaugurate the Sankirtan movement. There's nothing in the unlimited universes other than you. Gauri and Shankar are overwhelmed by the nectar of your lotus feet. Lord Brahma always worships these lotus feet, and the Shrutis, Smritis, and Puranas glorify these lotus feet. These lotus feet covered the entire Satya Loka, and the head of Bali Maharaj became glorified by the touch of these lotus feet. The forceful flow of the Ganges that is sustained by Lord Shiva emanates from these lotus feet. Now the glories of Advaita Acharya, Gaur, Ranga, Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Advaita, Srivas, Gadadhar, all the devotees of the Lord, they're unlimited. Wrapping it up, fast forwarding to the end, he caused the descent of the Lord, and he also gave permission to Lord Chaitanya to wind it up and go back to Goloka or on to the next universe as he wishes. But he sent a note via Jagadananda. And devotees got to see the note. What's Acharya written? What did Advaita write? What? And the note said to Lord Chaitanya, he said, everyone, there's no more need for rice in the marketplace. Everyone has become a madman like Mahaprabhu. And nobody understood what this note meant. Srup Damodar, he understood. Jagadananda kind of understood. But when Chaitanya saw it, he knew that he had fulfilled his mission. He'd completely satisfied Advaita Acharya in drowning the world in Krishna prema. The rice, basically, you can say it's Mahaprabhu. Your descent, the purpose of your descent has been fulfilled. So Lord Chaitanya very quickly wrapped it up So Advaita Acharya caused the Lord to come down. He gave him permission to leave. He showed the absolute surrender and service, dedication to the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He hated being glorified as a superior. One time, although the purport we first read by Srila Prabhupada said he's no tinge of impersonalism in the teachings of Advaita Acharya. Well, one time he did preach to some unfortunate souls the glories of Mayavad philosophy. And when Gauri Das Pandit heard Advaita preaching like this, he said, what? What are you saying? Are you saying that Gyan is higher than Bhakti? Are you saying we're all God? You're God, I'm God? And Advaita Acharya said, that's exactly what I'm saying. And he manifested a forearm form to Gauri Das Pandit. When Lord Chaitanya heard that, internally he thought that was quite funny. But he can't let this slide. You've called upon me to preach bhakti, and now you're preaching Mayavad, Gyan? So he and Nitai went there. And he asked him 3 times, which is higher, bhakti or Gyan? Gyan? Gyan, Gyan. And Lord Chaitanya couldn't control himself. He became so furious. He began to beat Advaita Acharya. His guru beat him, kicked him. Mother Sita was crying, thinking he was going to be killed. That's how angry Gauranga was. Haridas Thakur was laughing. He knew the point. He kind of understood what was going on. And then after he kind of got it out of his system, Advaita Acharya got up and began dancing. Now the truth is known. I'm your servant. So much for worshiping me, showing me this respect. I'm your servant. This is appropriate. You've chastised me. You show your concern for me, your love for me by treating me properly. I'm your servant. I'm your servant. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that, then he was so embarrassed. One other pastime, when Kamalakanta wrote a note to King Prataparudra that Advaita Acharya had incurred a debt of 300 rupees. Could you kind of take care of this debt for him? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It'll be to your great benefit. Lord Chaitanya, he somehow or other got that note. He said, what a rascal. He recognizes Advaita Acharya as God, then he says he's in debt to somebody else? Tell that Kamalakanta not to come in my presence. Never. He's just a Baulia. He has no proper understanding of tattva, philosophy. Well, when Advaita Acharya heard this, he was so happy for his servant Kamalakanta. He got chastisement just like I did. This is the mercy of the Lord. It's all auspicious. It shows his love for Kamalakanta. And he went to Lord Chaitanya and he said, how can you show such mercy to him? You are never that merciful to me. You simply beat me. But you've discarded him. You've thrown him away. You've banned him. You can imagine the extent in which the love within his heart would sprout, would overflow in separation. Mukunda got the same punishment one time because he would hang with other classes of men, not just the bhaktas, and he would kind of reflect their mood and act like them. He said, I don't want to see him. And Mukunda said, well, please ask him, will I ever get to see him? Lord Chaitanya said, in 1,000,000 births he'll get to see me. And when Mukunda heard that, he danced in ecstasy. In 1,000,000 births I'll get to see my Lord. So we can imagine the mood of Kamalakanta and how Advaita Acharya said, you are so much more. You never showed me that mercy. And Chaitanya, hearing him, said, oh, okay. And then he called Kamalakanta back. He said, I forgive you. By the mercy of Advaita Acharya, I'm going to forgive you. But don't ever talk such nonsense again. Never. say such things. And then Advaita just, what? Now you've cheated me twice. You kicked him away, and now you brought him back. Oh, your ways are inconceivable, my Lord. And of course, these bewildering interactions of love between Chaitanya and Advaita, or Advaita and Nityananda, they're on the platform of transcendental love beyond this world. So, the point was going to be, I got into that other pastime of Kamalakanta, that Advaita Acharya simply identified himself as the servant of Lord Chaitanya, and he set the example for all of us. He's the Acharya. We should do our best to embrace the chanting of Hare Krishna, the study of the scriptures glorifying the Lord, and if we really want to get the fruit of our endeavor in doing those activities of pleasing the Lord, then share it with others. And on that, I think I will stop and ask for your forgiveness for any discrepancies or any mistakes I may have made in sharing this wonderful katha of Advaita Acharya. Would anybody like to add anything that came up? Touch upon anything? Corrections? Thank you for your patience. Nitai Gaur. Then I will ask if we could just chant one Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Advaita Acharya ke, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ke, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ke.